You want to make a lot of money? You want to be successful? How do I get from where I am to where I need to be? I didn't want to be rich. I just didn't want to be poor. I started 10 years ago with a vision and 2 employees, and now we're 250 people. We'll do 150 million this year. And every day when I get off the elevator and I walk into my office, it's this feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction, knowing that I had this vision, and a few years later, it's real. And I love that. I love the ability that entrepreneurism gives you to create the tangible from the intangible. And, I think we all come to it at a different time. Being an entrepreneur wasn't something I went out to do. It was something that was thrust upon me. I hate the word failure. I hate that label. I wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night sometimes when I feel like I'm going to fail or I'm a failure. I run every day, and I run pretty far, and sometimes, just like everybody, I get jet lag and I get tired. And when I get to that point where I feel I cannot go on, this little inner voice inside me says, "What are you, a failure?" And then I don't care if my feet are going to fall off and blood is going to start dripping out of my veins. I will not stop. I hate that word. I do not want to be defined by that word. When I was younger, my parents didn't speak any English. And like many immigrants, since I was a little kid, I was 8 years old when we came to North America. And so I had to read the contracts. When my dad bought a house, I had to read the mortgage and go through the paperwork. And when I was around 18 or 17, I looked at being, at that point, we were, lower middle class. And I said, how do I get from where I am to where I need to be? And so I started calculating how much money I would have to make in order just to buy a house. And then I added the taxes into it and all the other stuff. And I realized how difficult it was going to be to accumulate capital. Because that's the hardest thing to do, is to accumulate capital. And I just decided that I didn't want to be where I was. I didn't want to be middle class or lower middle class or mediocre. I just wanted to be great at something. Because I figured out that the people that I saw that were doing great things were fundamentally great at one thing. And I've always been pretty good at figuring out how the game is played. And I figured that the game of business is played by people who are great at a singular task. Whereas when you get into business, nobody buys from you. Nobody makes you wealthy because you're okay at something. The world does not reward mediocrity, nor does it reward average. It only rewards exceptional. So you got to find that one thing that you're good at, and you got to become great at it. Because if you focus what you're not good at and try to become good at it, you're going to run into somebody who's going to clean your clock at it. Yeah, it's funny when you think about success and you think about business and you think about being an entrepreneur, everybody wants to talk about the good times. And I always say to people, being a great entrepreneur is the ability to stay focused and highly motivated when there's failure around you. It's not your ability to handle success that'll decide how successful you'll be. It's your ability to absorb failure. Not take failure, not get hit, but absorb it. I mean, absorb it with every fiber of your body. When there are those days where you feel like, I just cannot go on. Get up on those days, get in front of your team, and get them going in the same direction, and be highly motivated on those days. Because if you can do it on those days, you can do it any day. And you kind of built from there. that level of focus to keep going is really difficult. And so one of the things I try to do is I look for people that have been where I want to go. And I'm pretty good at absorbing information. I love to learn. I want to learn where it came from, how it worked. I wanted to learn everything about it. The biggest lessons, and my biggest mentor was always my dad, because that level of courage I had never seen in another human being. And when I was younger, I didn't really understand it. Once I got older, I understood the sacrifices that he had to make for me to be given the opportunity to be successful. And as I got older, what I really learned out of that is never complain, because number one, nobody cares. And two, all you deserve in life is an opportunity. Man, when something gives you an opportunity, you got to take it, you don't complain, and you got to go for it. The one thing we learned early on in racing, because people are different kinds of racers. When I was racing at the beginning, I used to spin out and hit the wall, and it was painful and expensive. And so I'm sitting down with my race coach and I said, how do I fix this? And so, well, besides not hitting stuff, the way you fix it is you got to stop looking at where the danger is. Don't look at where the car is going, look at where you want to go. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, when you're going that quickly, your body cannot keep up with your mind. So if the car is spinning and there's a wall 3 feet away from you and you're going 180 miles an hour and you look at that wall, you're going to hit the wall. But if you're spinning at 180 miles an hour and the wall is 3 feet away, and there's an open field to your right, and you can force yourself not to look at the wall and look at the open field, the car will miraculously end up there. And so I tried it, and it's really true. And, you know, the big lesson for every entrepreneur there, obviously, is don't look at the danger, look at the opportunity. All that time and all that energy focusing on something he wasn't good at was really a waste of time. And I think that's the way our education system is based and the way that we're taught. My son didn't have very good handwriting when he was in school, so the teachers spent all the time getting his handwriting better. And he had to stay after school late to get his handwriting better. And you know what? Today he has a successful job. He's 22 years old. I can't remember the last time he wrote something. Biggest investment you'll ever make is yourself.